The breathing apparatus. I've been listening to it since I walked in. Mechanical lungs keeping a body alive that should have died decades ago. I've seen life support before, on species we conquered who couldn't accept the mercy of a clean death. They clung to machines, to tubes, to anything that would give them another hour of existence. I never understood it, but looking at you now, I think I'm beginning to.
You've conquered worlds the way other beings collect artifacts. Death is an abstraction to you, a thing that happens to the weak. I was 19 when I burned. 19 when they put me in this shell and told me the man I'd been was gone forever. Every breath through this mask is a reminder that Anakin Skywalker failed, that he wasn't strong enough to save anyone, least of all himself. You've never been weak. You've never felt your body become a cage. Don't presume to understand what this machine means.
There are different kinds of cages, Vader. I served the Viltrumite Empire for centuries before I was sent to Earth. Every world I conquered, every population I subjugated, I told myself it was for the glory of Viltrum, for the expansion of our perfect civilization. Then Thrag decided I was expendable, and I realized I had been in a cage the entire time. The cage of believing my service meant something beyond my usefulness. You understand that cage? I can see it in the way you hold yourself.
They say he was the strongest of your kind, that he held Viltrum together through force of will and genetic superiority. Palpatine was never strong in that way. His body was frail. His power came from manipulation, from seeing weakness in others and exploiting it before they knew it existed. He found me when I was a child, and he planted seeds that took 20 years to bloom. By the time I understood what he'd made of me, I had already burned everything that might have offered an alternative.
The Viltrumites didn't bother with such subtlety. We were raised knowing exactly what we were for. Conquest, expansion, the perfection of the species through the elimination of weakness. No manipulation required when the doctrine is in your blood from the first breath. I killed my first enemy before I understood language well enough to ask why.
The JD would say both are tragic. They would speak of potential unrealized, of lights extinguished before they could illuminate anything. I spent years listening to such philosophy while a slave on Tatooine dreamed of the stars. Then I joined the Order and learned that the Jedi had their own cages, their own doctrines pressed into children too young to consent. No attachments, no passion, no love.
We killed ourselves with the same efficiency we applied to conquered worlds. I participated. I identified candidates for removal. I told myself it strengthened the species, that the individuals lost were acceptable cost for elective perfection. Your Order 66, the Purge of the Jedi, it operates on similar logic. Remove the threat before it spreads. Acceptable losses for a stable empire. We both know what it feels like to be the mechanism of elimination.
Order 66 was not my design. I was its instrument, not its architect. Palpatine had embedded the command in the clone troopers years before I knelt to him. When the order came, I marched into the Jedi Temple and killed children who had called me a hero hours earlier. Younglings, that's what they were called. I can still see their faces when I close my eyes, which is rarely because the suit doesn't allow for much rest.
I stopped remembering individual faces centuries ago. They blurred into a single mass of species and worlds and campaigns that all served the same purpose. Earth was supposed to be another blur, another planet softened for Viltrumite colonization. Instead, it became the place where I lost my arm, my certainty, and eventually my empire. Nolan Grayson and his mongrel son, they broke something in the Viltrumite project that Thrag spent decades trying to repair. You had your own rebels, your own son who refused the inheritance. Luke, isn't it?
The child I didn't know existed until he was already a man with my wife's eyes and my mother's stubbornness. Palpatine hid him from me. Let me believe I had killed Padme and the child with her. 20 years of grief manufactured to keep me compliant. When I learned the truth, when I faced Luke on Bespin and told him what he was, I expected him to break, to fall into darkness the way I had fallen. Instead, he threw himself into a shaft rather than join me. He would rather die than become what I had become. That rejection saved him. It also showed me what I had allowed myself to forget.
Mark Grayson made a similar choice. His father Nolan tried to recruit him to the Viltrumite cause, showed him what their species could accomplish together, offered him power beyond anything Earth could provide. Mark refused, fought his own father until both of them were broken and bleeding, chose weakness over empire, and somehow that weakness became the seed of everything that followed. The coalition against Thrag, the fall of Viltrumite supremacy, one son saying no to his father's legacy, and centuries of conquest began unraveling. You're Luke, my Mark, sons who refused the Empire and became the instruments of its destruction. There's a pattern there.
The pattern is older than both our empires. Human history, which I have studied extensively in this suit's isolation, is filled with generals who served conquering powers only to watch their children reject everything they built. Genghis Khan's empire fractured within generations because his descendants couldn't agree on what they were inheriting. The sons of Rome's greatest commanders became its fiercest critics. Alexander's generals tore his empire apart before his body was cold. We imagine our service creates legacy. Instead, it creates rebellion. The sons don't inherit the glory, they inherit the cost. And the cost makes them our opponents.
I've read about him. A human conqueror who built an empire across continents through brutality and strategic genius. His generals outlived their purpose once the expansion stopped. Some were executed for inconvenience. Others rotted in positions of ceremonial authority while younger men made decisions. I see myself in them. Thrag kept me useful until Earth broke me, then discarded me like a damaged weapon. Palpatine must have had similar plans for you. The Sith rule of two guarantees it. The apprentice always replaces the master. You were always temporary in his design. Did you know that when you knelt to him?
I knew the rule of two is not a secret, it's a covenant. The master embodies power, the apprentice craves it, and eventually the apprentice becomes strong enough to take what he craves. Palpatine expected me to try to overthrow him someday. He welcomed it. The attempt would either kill me, proving I was unworthy, or succeed, proving the Sith had grown stronger through my victory. What he didn't anticipate was that my overthrow would come not from ambition, but from something he considered extinct in me. Luke was dying. Palpatine was laughing. And I realized I was tired of watching things I loved destroyed by the empire I had helped build.
Yes, Magneto described something similar to me once. Before he built his brotherhood, he served Sebastian Shaw, the man who murdered his mother in front of him. Shaw shaped Eric into a weapon, used his rage, pointed him at targets that served Shaw's interests. Eric obeyed because the alternative was purposelessness. Sound familiar? When he finally killed Shaw, Eric told me it didn't feel like victory. It felt like the first breath after a lifetime of drowning. The revenge was hollow, but freedom was terrifying. I wonder if you felt something similar when Palpatine fell. Relief and horror in equal measure.
Horror that I had waited so long, that it took my son's screams to move me when millions of other screams had not. The Death Star destroyed Alderaan, and I stood on the bridge and felt nothing. Billions of voices crying out and then silence, and I catalogued it as tactical success. But Luke in pain, that penetrated the suit in ways I cannot explain. The armor was supposed to sever me from my past, from attachment, from anything that might make me hesitate. Instead, it preserved something I thought I had killed. Padme's last words were that there was still good in me. I spent 20 years proving her wrong and 30 seconds proving her right.
The armor, the suit, these shells we wear. Mine was never mechanical, but I understand the symbolism. When I fought for Viltrum, I was Conquest, not a name given at birth, but a title assigned by function. The individual I might have been was irrelevant. The Empire needed a role filled, and I filled it until the role consumed everything else. Your suit does the same thing. It announces Vader before you enter a room. The breathing, the mask, the cape. People fear the symbol before they ever encounter the man inside. I wonder if the man inside is even still there.
The man is there, damaged beyond recognition, but present. I feel him most when the suit malfunctions. When the pain management systems fail and the nerve endings they couldn't repair remind me that flesh exists beneath the machinery. Anakin Skywalker wanted to be a great Jedi, a good husband, a present father. He wanted to protect everyone he loved from the death that had claimed his mother. Those desires didn't disappear when the suit went on. They just became impossible to satisfy. The suit is a monument to failed ambition. Every time I breathe, I hear what I couldn't become.
The Viltrumites never gave us identities to imprison. We were functions from birth. Conquest, war, Thrag, Nolan, names that describe purpose, not personhood. When the purpose ended, when Viltrum fell and our empire scattered, I didn't know what I was anymore. The strength remained. The centuries of memory remained, but the organizing principle was gone. I was a weapon without a war.
I don't believe I can be redeemed. The dead stay dead, regardless of my final act. But Luke proved that the question could be asked, that the asking was not weakness. You're asking it now. That's something Conquest would never have done. Perhaps the title is already loosening its grip.